Now to tonight's special report. Talking about sex can be awkward for both parents and their children, but looking at the statistics, it's a topic that shouldn't be ignored. By the time young adults have completed university, 1 in 5 say they've been sexually harassed. 42% of reported sexual assaults in Australia involve people under 14, and the number of assaults rose by 27% in 5 years. The majority of victims are women. The federal government is funding a teaching resource called Respect Matters. It's part of the national curriculum to help combat violence against women, but not all states are using it. Alison Branley takes a look at modern sex ed, focusing on consent training.
The new syllabus for primary school sex education has very broad basic aims. As well as formal teaching of the biological facts, there's a strong emphasis on moral attitudes.
When it comes to sex education, some things haven't changed much since the 1970s, including the ability to attract controversy.
Some people have called this pornography. Do you see this as pornography?
No.
But the substance of today's classes is very different.
You can give me an idea of what consent means. So if one person wants to do it but the other one doesn't, that is considered rape.
In suburban Melbourne, sex educator Lau Stone is teaching Year 9 students about enthusiastic consent.
What I talk to the teenagers about, it's not just someone saying, oh yeah, that's okay. It's, yes, I really want to do this. So really checking in with the other person, is this something that feels good for you? Our biggest educator around sexuality is pornography at the moment, and that is often very violent and very graphic. In my experience, young people are really wanting information and they want to know how to navigate good, healthy relationships. But what might be the problem with a sex script? If we said, you do this first and I do that and I kiss you for 2 minutes.
Too planned out.
Too planned out, so a bit too prescribed. So we need to find a balance.
You can kind of withdraw consent
At universities, they're making up for the lack of information among school leavers.
So start.
Consent training is now compulsory after a string of incidents at residential colleges and a damning report by the Sexual Discrimination Commissioner.
All our characters in the comic, Louise is going to be the drunk one.
More than 30 universities have signed up to the Consent Matters online course.
I think this stop, pause, go module is important because I think a lot of people don't realise that after you've started something, you can kind of withdraw consent. You have control over it.
At UTS, these students can't get their exam results until they've completed the 40-minute multiple choice test.
The ones that stood out the most to me were about being a bystander, I reckon, and it's like, okay, when do I step in?
I don't think a lot of people know that the age of consent is different in a lot of states.
They only give you one option that's correct, and sometimes it's like, oh, okay, but there is more like nuance to it.
I think it's important and I think it's a start.
Activist group End Rape on Campus has been critical of the program, saying it's a cheap and overly simplified way to solve a complex problem.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who could sort of answer the right questions, tick the right boxes in a course like this, but still might act really disrespectfully towards other people in their life, maybe even violently. I don't even know if it's better than nothing, because I think it produces actually quite a lot of sort of backlash from students, and the evidence says that face-to-face education is much, much better than online education.
No! Stop! Don't! No.
Experts say the key to successful education is starting with the very young and a concept known as body autonomy.
No.
It's come out of the Royal Commission into Child Sexual Abuse and is about protecting children. At this Victorian private school, they start teaching children about consent from kindergarten, using light-hearted examples children can understand.
We're talking about situations such as Grandma wants to swoop in for the big sloppy kiss, and they can respectfully say, no thanks Grandma, let's have a hug instead. Or if it's someone they don't know as well, let's high five, let's fist bump. I can say no if I don't want to kiss or hug someone. What's another word for permission, starting with C?
Consent.
Good job. So people need to have your consent before they touch you, before they come into your personal bubble of space.
It was one thing that
Objections from parents are rare.
I think there's always a bit of, I'm not sure what they're going to be discussing with our children. but then when the conversations start, they're like, oh, this was a really good opportunity. So there's an open door that's given to us, and we're able to walk through that door with our kids.
Educators say more states should roll out similar programs, so young people of all ages know where to draw the line.
Oh my goodness, good job.